千里之行，始于足下。A journey of 1,000 miles begins beneath the feet. We now gather in the Tao to travel the journey together. Welcome to Tao Talks with Derek Lin, where we take a deep dive into the Tao Te Ching by Lao Tzu. I would like to extend a warm welcome to you. Thank you for joining us. I would like to invite you to center your thoughts and direct your attention to this moment in time, to the here and now, to be fully present and mindfully aware as we all ready ourselves for this sacred process in the Tao with one another. The name of the story is The Compassionate King. It is a story from Chuang Tzu. During the spring and autumn period of ancient China, there was a king known for his virtuous rule. His people knew they could always count on him to put their best interests first. There were barbaric tribes who lived to the north of the kingdom. They became increasingly hostile, and they show more and more signs of aggression. The king could see they would soon launch an attack. Wishing to prevent this, he tried to negotiate peace through diplomacy. He sent his first envoy with gifts of skins and silks. But this did not succeed. The tribal leader refused to accept. The king thought perhaps the refusal was due to the gifts being insufficient. He thought about what these tribes might find of value. So for his second attempt, he sent the second envoy with livestock and horses as gifts. Again, the barbarians refused. The king made one last attempt. He sent the third envoy with pearls and jade, the most precious gift he knew. This was met with the same rejection as before. It seemed the barbarians were intent on waging war. The king considered the situation at length, and then he gathered his people together. He described the situation to them, and he explained the wild tribes were not interested in peace because all they wanted was the territory. So they were going to take it by force. He said to them, I know many of you are more than willing to fight, but think about the toll this will take. If you are the older brother, would you want to send your younger brother into battle? If you are a father, would you want to send your son into battle, perhaps to die? I cannot bear for any of that to happen to us. He continued, my children, please make an effort to remain here. You can get along with the barbarians. Between living under my rule and living under their rule, what is the difference? We have been nourished by this land all these years. I do not want it to be a cause in bringing harm to any of us. With this, the king made it clear to everyone that he intended to leave the kingdom. to let the barbarians take it without a fight. This would avoid the bloodshed of battle. So he packed lightly for travel, and then he took up his staff to get started on his self-imposed exile. When he walked to the trail, exiting his kingdom, he was greeted by a surprising sight. Most of his people were waiting for him there. Like him, they were all packed up. They had taken their belongings with them because they all wished to go with him. Wherever he was headed, they would follow. They formed a long, unbroken train of migration through the land. They went far away from their former homes and did not stop until they reached the foot of a distant mountain. There they decided to settle down to establish their kingdom anew. This turned out to be an excellent decision. They had left the barbarians far behind, so they were out of danger. Together, living in safety at the foot of the mountain, the king and his people began rebuilding their peaceful society. The end. So let's talk about what this story is telling us. First of all, when I talked about the spring and autumn period, this was a historical period roughly from 2800 to 2500 years ago. It was the period of time before the warring stage period, which of course was the time of Lao Tzu and later on Chuang Tzu. In this story, what Chuang Tzu wrote about, and the same story was referenced many times in other ancient texts. What Chuang Tzu wrote about was that the people could see that the king loved the kingdom as himself. This is perfect correspondence to the last two lines of this chapter of the Tao Te Ching. Because of that love, the king could be entrusted with the kingdom. And here, I would invite everyone to elevate your thinking. The kingdom is not the piece of land. It's the people. That is the kingdom right there. So this kingdom, the people, could be entrusted to this compassionate king. This principle held true throughout history. The primary qualification of great rulers was that they cherished people's lives. This was not always the case. Many rulers throughout history were quite the opposite. They treated the lives of the commoners and the peasants as no great concern, that they could be slaughtered, thrown into battle at a moment's notice. But not this king. What can we take from this and apply to our own lives? Well, several ideas. Number one, like the king, there's nothing wrong in our lives in putting some distance between yourself and a source of toxic negativity. I say that because sometimes we stay in a bad situation with certain misconceptions. Sometimes people think, well, getting away from it would be losing the fight. It would be giving up the struggle, admitting defeat, showing weakness. And I want to offer that isn't necessarily true. Like the king, we need to be open to the idea that there may be little or nothing to be gained from staying behind in a stubborn way. Indeed, it may be a wiser use of time and energy to take yourself someplace else. Second takeaway, if, like the king, you let go of the power and the authority, but then it comes back to you of its own accord, then it's like what they say. If you let it go, but then it comes back, it's yours. Then you know that the power and authority, it comes back on its own, it rightfully belongs to you. That the kingdom was rightfully the king's to rule. So, pulling everything together, we should all approach a greater responsibility with the love of people rather than the lust for power. Or, as Lao Tzu would say, one who loves the self as the world can be entrusted with the world. In other words, who should take on the burden to care for the world? Only those who truly love the world. So this is a story that I wanted to share with you. I feel that it is the perfect ending for the last two lines in this chapter of the Tao Te Ching. Our meeting has come to an end, but the journey continues on. Until next time, may the Tao fill you with peace and happiness.